Welcome to Excuse My Grandma, guys. We are joined by Ben Higgins, my favorite bachelor of all time. And I'm really not just saying that. I will say that to anyone who asks ever. So thank you for joining us.
Yes, and Kimmy's
kidding me?
a
That's
great
nice.
fan.
Oh, that's super nice of you. I'm happy to be here. This is a great podcast, a great concept. We're gonna have a blast.
Thanks,
Okay,
Ben. So I want to get into all of it with you, from your season of The Bachelor to the current season to your relationship with Jess. I'm literally obsessed with you guys. I feel like it's the most couple goals ever. So I'm excited to talk about it all. First, let's go back to 2016 when your season of The Bachelor aired. How did it change your life since then?
A great question. Well, it changed everything. I don't think I could ever put words into how much it changed stuff. I was from small town Indiana. I'm an only child. Faith is very important to me. And I would say over my years, it's not so much of maybe a naive faith as much as it is like, I believe in God and I believe that God is active. And so I kind of came out of Indiana. I moved to Denver, honestly, as like a life risk. Like I was like, I gotta stretch my boundaries. I gotta get uncomfortable, which is something that I've learned a lot along the way. And then I went on this show because I ended up moving to Denver and I didn't love my job and I was single and I wasn't really dating. And I would actually say it was like a period of life where I was like shy. And I've never really been shy, but I was like shy for about a year and a half of my life. So then I go on the show
It all hangs out.
yeah, and everything starts, like everything starts being exposed and you start to, but when you're on The Bachelorette, especially from my point of view, was I didn't really, while I was on the show, realize just how big the show was. And so you're kind of in this weird environment where you're kind of having fun with it, and there's cameras and you're kind of feeling like they take care of you and they kind of like feed you and you're like, oh, this is a big deal. But then it's when you get off the show that all of this starts enhancing life a bit. And obviously that's not where my story stopped. I ended up going on to be The Bachelor. And so it just like heightens it to a new level. And so, yeah, I mean, everything, Chris Harrison told me this once, and I think it's the way I'll close this thought is, he said, Ben, use this to enhance the life you had, not change your life completely. And it's been a motto that I've kind of kept with me and tried to keep with me since then.
I love that.
That is great. And that comes, I just want to ask one question. He's not on the show anymore. And I never watched The Bachelor. So
She watched for the first time
this
like
couple of weeks
during
ago.
Katie's season.
And I mean, I just don't understand it because it just floors me that any guys would be doing this. But all right, is the show the better for his not being there? I don't know. I never saw him, so I don't know. But if these girls seem so uncomfortable with the whole hosting business.
She's saying Caitlin and Tayshia. Well, I like them. I think they're doing well, but you think that it was more for Chris.
It was
like his thing.
Exactly. I think without him, there's no show. I don't know how the franchise is going to deal with that.
You bring up a great question that a lot of people are thinking through right now. I know Caitlin and Tayshia personally, and I think it would be, I remember there was rumors like years ago where Chris was in like contract negotiations and people were saying, Ben, are you going to be the next host? And, it's kind of laughable, but then you go back and I'd like, think about it. I'd be like, how impossible of a job would it be to step into a hosting role of somebody that did it 20 years and did it well for 20 years?
Right.
And so the measure of success for them is different. I don't know, like they're filling a void. They're filling a role that they're going to be criticized from both sides now. And, right. They're kind of in that liminal space where you'll have people wildly supporting them, but fans of the show since the beginning are also sad that the host that they've become so familiar with is gone. And so it's really a non-win situation for them, right. But they've chose to do it, which I think one shows courage and two shows that they're probably pretty excited about it. They probably really wanted this opportunity. Is there a show without Chris? Is the show better without Chris? No. To answer that, I think in the framework of the question, is it better? I would say no. It's not. But it's a new season for the show too, and I don't know the behind the scenes of why Chris decided to leave or why the show decided to let him go, but it was getting into, I think Chris took the fall for the show's mistakes. And I think the show could probably admit to that, meaning he for years, the show kind of was slow to evolve and slow to transform and to become modern with the times. And as the face of the show, he took the brunt of that. And now he put himself in a situation that was not ideal. And I don't think anybody would say it was. But I think the show will miss him because he was so good at his job. Now, is it going to be better from a cultural standpoint and a more inclusive standpoint? It's yet to be seen. I don't know where the show goes or if the show even exists
after this season.
That's what I was going to say.
Slow to watch. And I mean, data shows that the show is not pulling the ratings it once did, or it really was even 2 years ago. And so I don't know where it goes.
Right.
I think that's a really good point. I guess, I mean, you were on Caitlin's season. You know her pretty well. Do you think if anyone from Bachelor World, Bachelor Nation was going to step into the role, does it make sense for Caitlin? Like, she is an outgoing girl. Like, do you think that, was there anyone else kind of in that world that you thought might be a good fit for that hosting job?
Well, I think there's a lot of names we could throw out there.
Yeah.
I think the Caitlin and Tayshia duo makes a lot of sense. I think it's really good that the show decided to have a woman host for especially the Bachelorette, possibly the Bachelor. We don't know what they're going to do yet. Caitlin, when you meet her in person, is dynamic and charismatic as she is on television. And I think Tayshia, I could say the same thing for. I think it was a good choice. It makes sense for the two of them right now. Long term, Paradise is coming up, and you have Wells that is stepping into a big seat. I think he's perfect for it. I think Wells is hilarious, and I think he's captivating, and he is a professional host. It's what he does for a living on the side. For a living with his daily job.
I was gonna say, like, besides you and your fiance, him and Sarah Hyland are literally the cutest couple. Do you watch Modern Family?
Yes, I did watch.
Do you remember the daughter in it?
Yes.
Okay, yes. She dates. Are they engaged?
They're engaged.
Yeah, she's engaged to someone from Bachelor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, Paradise like brings up a whole nother thing. I'm confused about, like, they're bringing in David Spade and all these different celebrities. Are they going to just be guest hosts per episode, or how that's going to work?
I have zero idea. And a lot of assumptions, like the list of people that they've added on, it was kind of shocking to Bachelor Nation, because a lot of Bachelor Nation are like, we don't know these people, what role are they going to play? And then it comes out that Wells is doing the rose ceremonies. I would imagine that the people they brought on will be hosting the dates and probably adding some value to the conversation and to the relationships. And then Wells will kind of close each episode. But I don't know. I don't know how it's, it feels like right now the show is transforming and doing it kind of by the seat of their pants, which makes sense. This is all new to them too. And so what it looks like is yet to be seen.
Do you have any predictions for couples that might end up together?
I don't even know who's down there. I did hear a rumor that Joe and Kendall are both in Paradise together.
Okay, that could be interesting.
Yeah, Gail, they came out of Paradise a couple years ago together, and now they've broken up and they're back down there. I feel like that just can't feel good. I don't know.
I feel like some tears will definitely come out about that one.
And some awkward moments. Like, I don't know about you, but dating on national television is weird enough. Dating with your ex sitting right beside you, who you care deeply about, is going to be even harder, or watching them date. I'm hoping, I was a big fan of Abigail from Matt's season. I'm hoping she finds somebody great down there. And she just is a terrific, bright human. And so, but I don't know. Paradise is going to be really exciting to watch, because, we haven't seen it in a while, and there is going to be so much new to it.
Yeah. So you talk about dating on national television. What was it like after the split with Lauren for you, going back into the real world and having to like go on real dates again after having these fantasy amazing dates, and then now you're meeting someone at a bar or like sliding into their DMs? What is the transition? What was that like for you?
I didn't really date much. I was pretty I was like disoriented. And so I wasn't really in a place to date. And then yet, like, there's so much going on from like the attention standpoint that kind of, I'd been out of it for a bit. And then all of a sudden, I'm being asked to go back and be the Bachelor, which is kind of like a kick, to the gut. Is like, man, I don't know if I could do that again. Two, it just feels exhausting. And three, how am I back in this place? And then I did date someone fairly consistently for a few months. And that was the hardest part, because as we became to progress in our relationship, the question of, do we make this public, is asked. Like, why aren't we posting about each other? Why does this feel hidden? And the reason for me, and what I finally came to the conclusion of, was, I knew she wasn't the one. And to make it public brings on a whole new level of attention and scrutiny. And then if you break up, right, then you get all the headlines about that. And so we kept it private. And then finally I was like, I'm not ready to go public. I was answering the question that I should have been asking myself, is this isn't the right thing, even though she was great. She's a terrific human. And then very soon after that, it was about 2 months, I was scrolling Instagram. And that's a story where I was at a hotel in Nashville next to the Predator Stadium. And I was looking up the location of that hotel and on Instagram, and pictures from the stadium popped up, and there was Jessica's picture. I was like, that girl's beautiful, but I don't know what to do with this. So I screenshotted it, sat on it for a bit. And then on Thanksgiving, my family and I had a few cocktails, and I was in bed that night, and I was like, you know what am I going to do? Like, just sit on this picture forever? Like, what, this brings me nothing. And so I just messaged her and I said, hey, if you're single and you're ever in Denver, let me know. If you're not ever in Denver and you're not single, just take this as a compliment. And then that's where we started. Yeah. Shot my shot.
That's very cute. Did the show, I guess, messed up your head when you leave? It sounds like people really don't know what to make of normal relationships when they leave The Bachelor. I mean, am I listening correctly, or am I just imagining that?
You're not imagining it. I would expand that a little bit more and say that it messes up your idea of reality. And so everything feels different. In a year's time, I went from being in the basement writing user manuals at a company to being on the cover of People magazine and on nationally televised commercials. And so I think for me, I can speak for myself and say, like, as much as you don't want to, you get used to the attention, and you get used to the fame, and you get used to things given to you and being invited to things. And I mean, I didn't pay for a ticket to a concert or a sporting event or a piece of clothing, for a long time. And over time, that becomes your identity. And I'm in a season a lot. It's unhealthy. And then it becomes even more unhealthy when maybe that starts to fade, and you start to try to find ways to reach out. And I think in the generation coming up right now, you see it. And I think you see it in my generation. I'm 32, where you start to reach for attention. You start to reach to stay relevant. You start to do things outside of your character and what you believe and what you hold true to yourself, because you just want to keep being known,
being out there.
And the question that I think that the reverse of that is like, well, how well within that do you know yourself? And so I'm in a transition phase in my life where I'm having to ask myself the question, like, how well do I know me? And who am I if all this is taken away, if all the fame and the labels are taken away? Like, I'm about to be a husband. And that's a lot different from being the Bachelor. And so what does that look like? And what role do I play moving forward in that exciting new season of life?
Your book, Alone in Plain Sight, came out earlier this year. Do you talk about a lot of those subjects in the book, and what was the process of writing it?
I do. I went through a phase on the show and right after the show where I was very emotionally, you could call, I could call it a lot of different things: anxious, depressed, confused. And I'm not going to blame this on the show. It was me trying to figure out what my life looked like in general. And I started journaling because it was the only way that I could get my thoughts out there. I wasn't willing to really tell people. I didn't even know how to really communicate it. So I started writing it. down. And then the book came about because I was given the opportunity to write a book, and I knew I had a story that I had to share. I just didn't know what way to share it. And so I took this journal and we moved it into more of a book form, where I took some of the concepts I was dealing with, the labels, the identity, the shame, the guilt, the disappointments in romance, and took it and then interviewed a bunch of people that I know who probably have even more dramatic stories than myself, stories like in there where I was dealing with the question of, what is my life worth? Like, what is my purpose? And to answer that, I interviewed a young lady named Annie who was 22 and had cystic fibrosis, and she had 3 weeks to live at the time. And so for 3 weeks, we were able to talk about what does it look like to know that you're passing away, to know that your time is limited, to know that this is all going away. What would you pass on to those who are still left? What lessons have you learned, as there's an urgency or an intention to life that maybe wasn't there for most 22-year-olds? And so she really helped me answer that question, is what is life's value and purpose? Like, if I have to ask myself the question. So the book kind of circles around the show, circles around my emotions, but also brings in some outside voices to really solidify some of the messages that I found important, or that I was searching for.
Inspirational.
So inspirational. Like, I want to cry thinking about it, because you use your platform in such an amazing way. You give back. Now you have Hope Still Wins, your new podcast, which, does a similar thing there. So what was the process of starting that? And then I also want to get into your other podcast, because I love Almost Famous.
Perfect. Well, it was during the pandemic, and I was hosting the Bachelor Live on Stage tour with Becca Kufrin. We were traveling the country in an RV, and it was awesome. It was like exhilarating. And then COVID happened and everything stopped. And when I say everything stopped, like
literally,
in all, everything stopped. Like in all projects, opportunities that I was getting. The Bachelor Live on Stage was supposed to be a full year, or 6 months, which paid for a full year of my life. And I was counting on that. And so everything ended.
And with Generous Coffee also, like, did it affect that at all?
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. And so I can tie that all together. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I was sitting at home, and my agent called and was kind of like, "Hey, Ben, we don't know what life's going to look like on the other side of this. What are you passionate about? Like, what can we help you get to do now?" I said, "I really want to just hear if other people are struggling, because I am, and I feel lost." And so we started this Instagram live show called Hope Still Wins, where I sat down with people from diverse backgrounds and differing worldviews to hear who they are and their struggles and what they've learned along the way. And maybe the stories don't always end happy, but they end truthful, because our stories are true. And then here recently, we switched that into making a podcast to make it more platform agnostic, to make it available to people that don't follow me on Instagram, because I believe hearing from these people, not hearing from me, but hearing from the people that I'm interviewing, is worth it. Well, in addition to all of that, as you just mentioned, Generous Coffee is going on. And Generous Coffee, in short, was started with the idea that we could be a for-profit business, and all the owners would sign away our ability to make any profit on the value of the company or on the sale of a product. So everything's donated. 100% of profits are donated to nonprofits. And we have a couple coffee shops, and we were kind of thriving, and things were going great. We were able to donate money and go on trips. COVID happens, and one of our coffee shops dies. I mean, literally, we had nobody walking through the door. So we had to close that one down. Our other coffee shop in Golden, Colorado did all right. But then our retail sales actually did better, because people were brewing coffee from home. But we're now at a place, even with Generous, where, like, what does life look like on the other side of the pandemic? What does life look like when, we're still trying to get people to buy into this idea that a for-profit business can do good, and yet people are now kind of out moving and grooving again, and kind of forgetting about those things because their pace has quickened up. Before,
but I think they have to listen to you. If they listen to you, they're going to come back. They will.
Are you not so impressed by him in every way?
I'm in love. You should be the host of all these programs. You're wonderful.
America loves him.
Yes. Well, I can see
it's
why.
very sweet of you guys.
No,
it's very sweet of you. But I hope people listen to that. I mean, and I hope people understand that I don't benefit financially off of Generous a dime. In fact, it's the reverse right now. But it's something that we believe in. We believe that if you drink coffee every day, that you can go online and buy our coffee and know that every cup of coffee is going to make the world a better place. And so I guess to kind of summarize everything we've talked about too, is when they ask like, what do I want to do? Selfishly, like I want my life to be a part of a story that's greater than mine, because when I was on The Bachelor and I made my story mine and it was about me, I know what headspace that put me into, and it was one of isolation and depression. And so I guess I've seen and I've felt that the more people are involved, the more we can connect with each other, selfishly, the more joy I find. And so that's why this stuff happens.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So let's quickly talk about Almost Famous. I love your dynamic with Ashley. One question I always wondered, like, how do you think Ashley and Jared's relationship is different than your relationship?
Oh my, good question. Well, I love Ashley Iaconetti dearly as a friend and a sister, and as a co-host for 4 years. We've never had a fight, which I'm hoping at some point we do, because I don't know if that's a good sign of a relationship if we never bicker. She is dramatic and she loves pop culture, and she's so curious about people and about celebrities and about their stories. And she cares so deeply about these people that are in the public eye and how they're operating this world. And so for me, I come at it where I don't know pop culture at all. Like I could tell you nothing about who's dating who and what YouTube star is coming up through the ranks. I don't know that.
And who
So it's
cares?
a great dynamic on the podcast. Yeah. I'm sure some people do. And I think that's why that works. She cares. I don't know it. And so she teaches me.
Okay.
Now, when it comes to our relationship,
Kind of like us.
Right.
See?
We're a pair. Absolutely.
That's right. And there's a love that's built between that, because you're different and you can bring different things to the table. And, Jessica is different than Ashley in so many ways, but they share some commonalities where they put people first. They are passionate about people's emotions and feelings and where they're at in life. And Jared and I are very similar. And so Jared kind of went down a different path when he was looking for his partner. Ashley excited him. Ashley stretched him. Ashley pushed him.
After a while, it took a minute.
Yeah, they did. And it's beautiful to see, but their dynamic is more of one that's like a loving contention. So they are so different that they don't see the world in the same way, yet they found a way to communicate and love on each other through that. Now, Jessica and I, we're very similar in a lot of ways. And so ours doesn't have as much not conflict. That sounds like Ashley and Jared fight. They don't, like, bad. It's like it's just a bickering. It's a loving
of opinion.
difference.
Yeah.
And Jessica and I, Jessica's very much like every day wakes up to say, like, how can I be a better partner to Ben? Mm-hmm. And that's what's beautiful about her and what I needed, because I get so down on myself that she is always there to lift me up. And what I lack in confidence, which I don't think Jared and Ashley lack in confidence. I think they kind of support each other. Jessica fulfills that oftentimes when I'm in my worst place. And that's what I needed. I didn't know I needed it, but I've seen it now.
So how did you know that she was the one?
Well, I'm going to be very interested to hear what your grandma thinks of this answer, because I've been asked this question and I've been trying to figure this out. There was the butterflies when I first met Jess, and there was the moments that were like the puppy love and everything was new and exciting. And what happened with Jessica, which hadn't happened in the past, was when those feelings weren't as common. Mm-hmm. I never doubted that she was the best person for me. And as those feelings waned, it actually continued to reassure me that I've never doubted that she isn't my partner. And so when I realized she was the one, I wouldn't say it was like a moment. It was a continual confidence that I can't go without this person. This person loves me well, excites everything, and supports everything I want to do in this world. And even when those like, and there's still moments, we have a date night tonight and she'll get all dressed up for it. And I'm sure she'll walk downstairs and I'll be like, whoa, like it happens. But even when those moments aren't there, my love for her has never become less. And so, and I can't speak for her, but for me, it was just at some moment, it was like, of course I'm going to marry this person. There's not a question.
Great. It'll be a good relationship because you see each other on many levels.
She wouldn't say that if it wasn't true. She's said to people like, you're going to fail. So
No, this sounds like she's a keeper. That's for sure.
She is. She's a great human.
Right.
She really is.
And you both share that, which is a commonality, and that's wonderful.
And the wedding is in November.
It's in November in Nashville, Tennessee.
Very
love
excited.
Nashville.
Yeah, we did a trip there.
Yeah, you went on the Grand Ole Opry. You went on the stage.
Oh,
don't you remember? You ever
don't tell people that. So are there any Bachelor people invited? Are you excited? Are you nervous? What are your thoughts?
I'm not nervous yet. I know I will be.
Yeah.
I think it's going to just feel weird, like a week out to be like, I'm getting married next week.
Yeah.
It's time. It's time.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's going to feel weird. But yeah, of course there's Bachelor people invited. I just had my Bachelor party and I think probably
who was
like
there that we would know?
Nick Vile and Wells and Dean. Chris Soules was invited. Harrison was invited. They couldn't make it.
He was a little tied up this week.
Yeah. I don't think that trip was up his alley then. Jared was there. You know, there was I have great relationships from the show. I mean, and then you go on the female side, like, I mean, Becca Kufrin and Ashley and I have become so close, and there's just those people in my life I love dearly, and they've seen the cool part about that for those friendships is they've seen me through it all. And that's something that not even my high school friends can't really relate with, because I disappeared for 6 months of life and came back a new human, and they were like, but you know, I still have close relationships there.
Last question I want to ask, since this is a generational podcast about family, your relationship with your family, I know you're very close with them. What was it like for them to literally watch you date, hook up with people, all of that? And
did they approve of it?
Yeah.
That's the other issue. They did.
I think they approved. If they didn't, they never told me. My parents were very supportive. I have a very close relationship with them. They were confused, I think, at first, and then it rolled into, especially my time on The Bachelor, an honest support of me and of the process and becoming just there. They just needed to be there consistently. Unfortunately, I had a grandmother who would have loved to watch me on that show, and she passed away about 2 years before that happened, and I still to this day just wonder what her reaction would have been, because she's watching
from up above. Don't worry.
I want to hear her giggle.
She'll give you a sign
as it's going on. Yeah, I missed oftentimes watching it and just seeing her huff, like when she'd be embarrassed, or her giggle. And then I watched a couple episodes with my mom's mom, and that was one of the weirdest experiences of my life, because I didn't realize until that moment the sound effects for, like, when you're kissing and they do the up close and you can hear it.
Yeah.
Your grandma sitting right next to you, and like the smacking of lips. And it's like, it's so uncomfortable.
At least you weren't Ari, or no, was it Ari, or who was the one they were like always making fun of the kissing? And Matt, who kissed with his eyes open. Like, at least, you know, you didn't have that kind
of. Yeah. It was mostly just probably uncomfortable for me.
Yeah.
But my family supported me and they stood beside me the whole time. And I thank them for that, because I've never questioned, I would never do it differently, and I've never questioned that life decision.
That's great.
Because of their input. I've questioned it, but I've never done it because of them, and I know they always got my back.
Did either grandma give you advice about love and relationships that you could leave us on?
I'm sure my grandma Higgins did. She was always talking about it. I know she prayed for my wife all the time. But my dad is actually one that stands out to me because it's
Mhm.
probably the only person I've directly asked, like, how do you know when somebody's the one? And my dad, and all of his wisdom and all of his splendor, we're up on the roof roofing, and he goes, Ben, when you know, you know.
That's very good advice.
We've heard that
And
one
at the time,
before.
and I was like, Dad, at the time, I was like, that's all you got? Like, there's not anything
That's
else?
it.
He's like, nope, that's all I got. And now that I found Jessica, I know what he's talking about.
Aw.
And his wisdom was a lot more than what I gave it credit for at the time.
Thank you, Ben. You're
Thank
great.
thank you so much. Where can our listeners follow you and support you and your podcast and your book and everything?
Definitely. Okay. Well, first things first, if anybody out there drinks coffee, it would be a huge deal to so many if you go out to generouscoffee.com and just consider making generous coffee your drink of choice, because it really is a great thing. And the more you read about it, and the more you see, and the more I'm involved in it, even the better it gets. And so go to generouscoffee.com for that. You can listen to Hope Still Wins anywhere you listen to podcasts. That just launched, and we're 4 episodes in, and it's an incredible passion project for me. You can listen to Almost Famous. That's with iHeartRadio. And then finally, go out and Google Alone in Plain Sight, which is the book that came out in February. It'd be awesome if I could hear from you. So review it, or DM me, or write me on your thoughts on the book. That would be, and I did the audio version. And so if you're driving all the time, you can hear my voice stumble over the words for a couple hours, and that would be really cool.
That's great.
Thank you so much, Ben. We really appreciate you coming on. You're the best.
And
Hey,
have a
thank
good
you, guys.
drive.
Hey, I appreciate you all. Have a lot of fun with this. This is special.